Hello, my name is Diandra Velazquez. I'm a student at UMass Lowell. Today I'm interviewing Professor Rosemarie Buxton as part of an assignment for my labor studies class. Thank you for joining me today. So can you tell me what an adjunct faculty member is for those that don't know?
So an adjunct faculty member is someone who teaches and is paid by the course, as opposed to somebody who's a salaried employee of the university. So adjunct faculty are asked to teach particular courses. They're paid only for those courses, and they get no health insurance and no other benefits, no retirement plan. So some call us contingent faculty, but the trend has been to use more and more adjunct faculty. And I would say the majority of first and second year courses are probably taught by adjunct faculty. Some of them are classified as part-time, but I can say from my own experience and from what I know from other instructors that some of us may be teaching 3 or more courses a semester, which would be considered a full-time load for a full-time professor. And
how would you describe your daily life as an adjunct faculty?
So my daily life. Well, that depends on how many courses I'm assigned. So this semester I actually have 3 courses actually. I have 2 English courses with the English department, which are several hours apart. So my first one's at 8 o'clock in the morning, and my next course is at 2 in the afternoon. So I have several hours in between. For some faculty, that might be difficult because, say, they want to teach at another campus or they have children to pick up or whatever. We don't have that much control over our schedules. We always have to be flexible. And then I teach a 3rd course on Mondays and Wednesdays, which is with the Navitas program, which is a program just for international students, and that's an ESL course. So this is a pretty good semester because I have 3 courses. Last semester I had only 2. I was supposed to have more, but I had one that got canceled, which is something that's very typical. Could be a very typical event. I've had semesters where I've taught 4 or even 5 courses.
And how long have you been at UMass Lowell?
I've been here since fall of 2010.
2010. Would you say that there's a difference in the experience of senior adjunct faculty versus the newer ones coming in?
Well, first I think I should explain what the difference is between senior and junior. So to be a senior adjunct, you have to be teaching at least 5 years at the university. And if you're senior status, according to our contract, you get more pay for seniority. So you get a salary bump every year for seniority. So junior adjuncts don't get that. The second thing is we do have priority for course assignment. So if there are courses available, the pecking order is basically that senior adjuncts should get those courses. And for instance, if a senior adjunct typically teaches 2 courses every semester, that senior should be getting 2 courses that semester. Now, if a full-time faculty person is short on courses, that course may go to a full-time faculty. So full-time faculty always have precedence in course assignments. So there may be a situation, especially happens in spring, where the enrollment may be slightly less in spring than in fall, and there might not be enough courses for a full-time person, so the full-time person might get a first-year writing course, for example, so he or she can have that 3-course minimum to be full-time, and an adjunct might lose that course, even a senior adjunct. That's just the way the system works, and that's the way our contract works as well. But I think it just kind of highlights that there's always an issue with job security if you're an adjunct professor. You never know how many courses you're going to be teaching. You really can't guarantee what your schedule is going to be. So those are some of the things that are challenging for us.
And yeah, so you actually answered my next question. I did want to bring up the topic of job security and just what your thoughts were on that, being an adjunct faculty member. But so I know that UMass Lowell adjunct faculty right now is they're working on an agreement, or the unions are well, basically from my research shows that you have been advocating to receive equal pay as the UMass Boston and UMass Amherst adjunct faculties. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Okay. So at UMass Boston and UMass Amherst, the base salary for an adjunct faculty member is $6,600, which is $2,000 more than the base salary for adjunct faculty at UMass Lowell. In fact, $6,600 is the higher end at UMass Lowell, so an adjunct getting that would probably be teaching a course that's more than 3 credits. You know, it might have a lab involved, it might be with the School of Management or one of the sciences. Those tend to be higher paid. So there's the salary discrepancy. The second issue is that adjuncts at UMass Amherst and UMass Boston who teach 2 courses per semester in the academic year get health insurance, and they have a retirement plan. At this point, we don't have health insurance, and our retirement plan consists of money that's taken out of our salary so we can participate in a plan, but it's not matched by the university. So it's just as if I decided to open an IRA and put some of my own money in it. It's just managed by the university instead of by me. And the university doesn't match that with their own funds. Like typically an employee, say, who has a 401k plan, so much is taken out and his company might match that. We don't have that match. And the other thing that makes that a serious issue is that we don't have Social Security taken out. So if you have an adjunct who's been working for the state system for many years, that person is not going to get much in the way of Social Security or anything because Social Security is not taken out, and this retirement plan is supposed to be what that person can rely on for retirement benefits.
And how long has the adjunct union been around at UMass Lowell?
I think since 2011.
Okay.
It was possibly 2011, 2012. I got involved in getting everybody to get union cards, and I think it was in the spring of 2012, but I think the union was actually in existence before that.
How have conditions changed since?
Well, we have seniority status now, so there was no seniority before. So basically, whether someone was assigned a course would be on the whim of the department chair. So now there is seniority. Our pay is higher. So when I came on board in 2010, I think the pay was in the $3,000, $3,500 range, and there are salary increases every year. So that's been a positive effect of the union. There's a grievance system in place so that if there is an issue, there's somebody who can represent an employee who's having a challenge with or an issue with a department chair, for example. And there have been issues where, you know, a faculty member has had to have a union person when meeting with faculty, not with faculty, but with department chairs or supervisors. So we do have that protection and that representation, which is really good. And we didn't have that before.
Thank you. And are there any instances in which an adjunct faculty member would then eventually be put on a tenure track, or are you just kind of locked in?
There's no possibility for that, not at this university. Now, at UMass Boston and UMass Amherst, there are paths toward that, but at UMass Lowell, there isn't a path toward that. And typically what happens when an adjunct applies for a full-time position is the adjunct may be told things like, well, you haven't done committee work, and this position calls for committee work. Because as an adjunct faculty person isn't asked to serve on committees. Or you haven't done any service work. By service work, for instance, full-time professors do advising. They'll advise students on what courses to take for their next semester or whatever. Adjuncts aren't allowed to do that, So some of the professional opportunities that we could have within the university to kind of expand ourselves professionally can't happen. And so it's really hard for us to get into those jobs. So what will happen is the university will hire somebody from outside who's done all those things at another university rather than hire somebody who's been working for the university as an adjunct for several years and actually has experience working in the university system and with our student population.
And so with that being said, there are about more adjunct faculty members and tenure track professors at UMass Lowell, is that correct?
I don't know if there are more, but there are a lot of us. So I think the numbers now are in the high 500s. I think last year the numbers may have been over 600, so that's a lot of faculty. Certainly in the English department, I think we have something like 64 adjuncts because we have a first-year writing program, which is a significant program. Every student has to take that course, and the majority of those courses are taught by adjuncts. I think we have 3 or 4 what we call full-time non-tenure track people who teach those courses. But for the most part, adjuncts teach those courses.
What do you think are some of the factors or some of the reasons why universities continue to hire so many adjunct faculties over tenured?
Well, it's cheaper for starters. They're paying for piecework. They're paying by the course. They're not paying benefits, and it's cheaper. So that's why they hire us. To hire a full-time faculty member, you're talking probably somebody who's making, $70,000 or $80,000 and getting a full-time benefit package as well. Retirement plan, health insurance. I don't know what other benefits they get, but they get quite a few benefits. And, definitely I'm not going to deny full-time faculty the rights to those benefits, but it makes them more expensive employees. It's kind of like the Walmarting of academia. How Walmart and some of these other big corporations, what they'll do is they'll have people working but just under the line to give them benefits because it's cheaper, as opposed to relying on full-time benefited employees.
And how would you describe your relationships with professors that are full-time tenured track?
I would say in my department, overall, the relationships are pretty good. We have workshops a couple times a year, and there are some full-time faculty there, and they're very collegial. I don't think that's the case with every department, but I would say with the English department, the relationships are pretty good.
Okay. And what are some of the challenges of the adjunct unions?
The challenge of the adjunct unions, of the unions themselves, it's just really hard to fight this fight. Our negotiating team has been working for well over a year on a new contract, and I would say the first 6 to 10 months was just keeping the things that we won, because the university actually wanted to get rid of seniority, for example. So just fighting for what we've got already and to keep that. We hear a lot of talk about cost. So that's the rationalization for not paying us more and giving us benefits. It's going to cost the university so much money. But actually, there's so many other areas in the university where a lot of money is spent on buildings, on technology, on higher level management, vice provosts, associate deans, this and that, administrators who are making six-figure salaries and getting full benefit packages, which are costing the university a lot of money, whereas we're told, well, that's too expensive. It's too expensive to pay somebody who's dealing on a daily basis with students. So that's one of the rationalizations. Some say what we're getting is a fair wage. So we've heard that, or that this job isn't expected to be a full-time job. So why should it be benefited? There's some assumptions, like assumptions that, oh, well, you all have spouses or partners that are paying for health insurance. Or that we're teaching, some of us are teaching at many different schools, but some of us aren't, or, that this is just a sideline and we're working full-time someplace else.
Yeah, and then some adjunct professors that are teaching at other universities, it's definitely because of the fact that they're only getting part-time at UMass Lowell or wherever they're at, so they have to find additional work. That's correct? That
is correct. So you will find adjuncts who are teaching at 2 or 3 institutions. So that's something that also impacts what we can give to the students as teachers. I'm actually one of the fortunate ones in that I've had enough work here that I can make a decent living, and I do have a partner who has benefits. But for other instructors, that's not the case. So they may be teaching 2 courses here, leaving immediately after that class is done, going off to Babson, or some other school in the Boston area or Merrimack College, and they're just, going from place to place, trying to get that living. There's an instructor here, Andre Dubus, he's a writing instructor. He was an adjunct for many years now. He's full-time, but he calls us the migrant farm workers of academia. And when you look at that kind of situation, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Here are these people just getting in their cars, going from place to place, teaching classes.
And what would you say is one of the main issues that the union is working on now? I know that a little while ago there was a protest in Boston outside the UMass Lowell Boston Club where the union protested outside the provost's retirement. So I was just wondering how the collective bargaining is going now, or what it is that the union is focusing on now. Like, what issue are we tackling now specifically, or the one that's higher up on the priority list?
Well, I would say that there are 3. The first is, as I said, that we have salary equity with UMass Boston and UMass Amherst because we're comparable institutions. So that's the first one. The second one is health insurance for adjuncts who are teaching 2 or more courses per semester in the academic year. And the third one is a retirement plan. I'd say the first 2 are the ones that the union is fighting the hardest for right now. We've gotten a couple of proposals from the university. One was for a 2.5% raise per year over a three-year period. And when you think about how much money that is, or how little it is, so $4,400, it's like $110 increase. I mean, it's not a huge increase. And we have a parking fee. So we pay $80 right now for parking, but the university wants to raise that. Originally it was going to be $200. I think they're getting into the $150 or $130 range. But you think about, here's a raise that's not even going to cover the cost of our parking. The other proposal was a 5% raise, which is still not enough. I mean, it's still not bringing us anywhere near that equity. And the second, of course, is health insurance.
So can we talk about the April 3rd town hall meeting?
Okay, so the April 3rd town hall meeting was a meeting to talk about H639, which is a bill in the state legislature, and part of that bill is to give equity to faculty at UMass Lowell with UMass Boston and UMass Amherst. So that would be pay equity and also health insurance. The other piece of that legislation is good for you as students because if a student attends the university freshman year and has a certain grade point average and comes from a family with an income of less than $125,000, that student can get free tuition the following year. So it's also giving an opportunity for students who are middle to lower income to attend the university for free. So it's a package that benefits both faculty and students, and the town hall was to educate our students and our faculty about this.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I guess the only thing I would like to add is that I think it's really important that students understand our situation and who we are. I think the April 3rd event was a great way to show students that, you know, most of your teachers are people who are part-time employees and who are working under these conditions. And, you know, if their tuition is skyrocketing, it's not because of what we're getting paid. And I think when I've told my students about what an adjunct is, they've had a lot of understanding and respect for our position. And I think students want to see the people who are dealing with them on a day-to-day basis treated fairly and with justice.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
You're welcome.
She mentioned the